Newspaper reviewer Bayo Atebe is right here with us in the studios. Bayo, good morning and welcome. I hope you had a pleasant weekend.
Yes, very restful and good morning.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yusuf, good morning. Good morning, Nigeria.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just take the few headlines from the front page of the Punch newspaper. There are two earpieces there beside the name flag. ASU threatens fresh strike, gives federal government Tuesday ultimatum. Plateau killings, Assembly resolutions advisory, says Commissioner. MBF, that's Middle Belt Forum, backs lawmakers. That's on page 41. And lead story comes with a kicker, 21-day notice. Strike dangerous now. Federal government begs doctors. And NMA and ministry disagree. NMA faults federal government as minister rejects ultimatum. Citizens' lives under threat. Ehanere laments.
Okay, let's take a look at the Daily Trust this Monday morning. It begins with the stories we have right under the masthead. And on page 18, we have, again, Emirates extends suspension of Nigerian flights on page 18. And on page 4, Buhari directs recall of 11 wrongfully retired DPR directors. Buhari directs recall of 11 wrongfully retired DPR directors. And contractors cry out over 140 billion naira debt on page 19. And the lead story here is talking about 2023. And it says PDP to cede presidency to North, zones chairmanship to South. PDP to cede presidency to the North and zones chairmanship to the South. And the writers are Oyinlola, Ijegede, George, McCarthy, others in race for party chair. The second writer is presidential contenders push for own party candidates. And the third writer is will zone presidency at right time, says spokesman. Details of all this can be gotten on page 5. Going down the bottom of the page, APC states to allocate 15% annual budget to health sector. That's on page 3. And finally, we have two other stories at the foot of the page there. And one is on page 3, which says, insecurity, defend yourself, can youth tell Nigerians? Insecurity, defend yourself, can youth tell Nigerians? And finally, on page 39 of the Daily Trust, we have Tokyo Paralympics, which is Omolayo wins Nigeria's second gold medal. Omolayo wins Nigeria's second gold medal. Bayo?
Thank you, Yusuf. Let's start with the issue about the ultimatum given by the Academic Staff Union. They have given federal government up till month end, and that is Tuesday, and likely to be tomorrow, that they will activate the procedure for strike. The Academic Staff Union President, Professor Emmanuel Oshodeke, says that the federal authorities have failed to implement agreement that was reached before they called off their strike December 24th, 2020. The president is saying that they actually signed a final agreement in May, and between May and August, there has not been any implementation. The Council for Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, COREN, says they have identified 3 actual causes of building collapse around the country. The president of COREN, Ali Rabiu, says that they are improper design, poor quality material, and thirdly, inadequate site practices. Rising from 2021 engineering conference and AGM at Abuja, the COREN says that it will now discipline culpable practitioners. He also says that the call for a legislation to deal with cases of negligence by developers and especially quack who fail to use professionals in executing their projects. The council has also developed another initiative. They are to publish a Nigerian concrete mix design manual as a guide for those producing good concrete for use at building sites. There's an alarm raised about implementation of 7.5% tax on imported liquefied petroleum gas, otherwise known as cooking gas, which has led to 100% increase in cost. The Punch reports that the government implemented the VAT 3 weeks ago, and liquefied petroleum gas, 12.5 kg, is now going for about 6,800 at Abuja and 7,200 in Lagos, as reported by The Punch. Many homes now, small businesses now have reverted to firewood and charcoal. The chairman for Retailers Association, Michael Umudu, identified 3 major factors that has caused the hike in price. He says 70% of the gas consumed in Nigeria, you won't believe it, is imported. This is subject to high exchange rate because they import it in dollar value. He says the LPG price has gone up following the rise of petroleum products internationally, and therefore gas too has concomitantly gone up. He said government imposed 7.5% VAT on imported LPG 3 weeks ago. Mr. Umudu says that unless Nigeria liquefied natural gas increases its domestic supply, which currently stands only at 35%, the price will continue to rise. He said that not only that, 35% is inadequate, but it is also sold at international rate, that is at dollar rate, even in Nigeria. See, unless something is done drastically, the price of gases will continue to go up. Dr. Victor Waifa.
All right, Bayo, go
Yes,
ahead.
Dr.
I was just wondering the issue of gas prices. What for many years the price appeared to have been stable around 3,000. Occasionally it went to 3,003, then 3,005. And here we are, the price is escalating. I mean, the worrisome aspect is the fact that we have to import LPG.
Yes.
We have to import LPG, and I keep wondering whether it is only LNG, that is the liquefied natural gas in Bonnet, that can produce LPG for our domestic use. Because if LNG is supplying just say about 35% or 40% of our needs, and the rest we have to import, we have to ask ourselves what is happening to other domestic gas producers. That's on the one hand. On the second hand, years ago, this is well about 10 years or more ago, when we had a similar crisis, if you consider the exchange rate then and now, you will know that it was a real crisis at the time, because I recall in Lagos, a 12.5 kg cylinder was going for as high as 10,000 naira. And part of what they then did was to say, look, okay, they said the vessels that the NLNG uses, that those vessels cannot berth at the location around Apapa. So they were now using what they called baby vessels. So the tankers that normally would take the LNG for export would go to the high seas, then smaller vessels would go there, off-take from them, and then bring them to discharge at Apapa, and the prices went down drastically. And here we are, you're having all kinds of rationalizations as to, oh, you know, we have to import cooking gas. What is happening to our gas policy? What is happening to our environmental campaign? Because I hear people are denuding the forest now in search of firewood and coal. So because gas is expensive for them, and so on and so forth. And if you are implementing the 7.5% VAT on imported gas, what is the rationale for that? We cannot say we are looking for revenue, and at the end of the day, the people for whose benefit you are looking for the revenue are suffering.
They are suffering.
You don't buy it, because if you say 7.5%, part of what you read just now was to say that 7.5% was made retroactive. That for those of them, you know, who had imported gas some preceding 6 or 10 months, would not have to pay VAT on it. And the cost is running, the tax is running into several millions of naira, hundreds of millions of naira. And of course, those who are going to pay that tax will pass it on to the consumers.
Pass it on to the consumers. And sadly, too, the ordinary man who had the tendency to revert to using kerosene has found kerosene unassailable now, because kerosene is even more expensive.
The encouragement has always been that there should be alternative energy source. That's talking about getting out of the woods now to the gas, the usage of gas and the kerosene. But these two alternatives are becoming so expensive, so much so that people are not even contemplating going back, or coming to them rather, but still going back to the forest and cutting down the trees.
Last time I bought gas, I paid 8,000.
For 12.5 kg.
12.5 kg, yes.
That's right. I mean, I won't be surprised. I haven't refilled recently, but I won't be surprised if it goes that high. And we keep hearing, oh, the market is deregulated. So is this the meaning of deregulation?
Dr. Victor Wyford died on Saturday at age 80. Known generally as a guitar boy, Akwete King, and his hit song Jerome won gold disc when he was just 24 years old. He was a consummate artist, an inventor, a sculptor, a lyricist, and an academic. He had a PhD at age 77. President Muhammadu Buhari says he left a legacy of success. He's the only artist who has been invited to the presidency to perform for guests on 4 different occasions. When he turned 80, he was hosted to a dinner by Sir Gabriel Osawaru Benedion. They both shared their youth experience that they were all hawking on the streets of Benin.
Then
Benedion was hawking kerosene, while Sir Victor Wyford was hawking cola nut.
That is serious.
Well, I mean, Sir Victor Wyford is definitely a legend. There's no question about it. I grew up listening to his music, and indeed persons of my generation. Since the weekend when the news broke, I mean, we've all been exchanging the hits of Sir Victor Wyford right from the 1960s. He actually began his music career, as it were, from Lagos. After he left Western Boys High School in Benin and went to St. Gregory's in Lagos, he joined a number of bands, and then including Sir Victor Olaya. Among his contemporaries was the late Sir Bobby Benson.
Yes.
Bobby Benson passed on in 1983. Sir Victor Wyford, clearly, I mean, you can't finish telling his story in one day. One of those whom he groomed was the late Sonny Okosun. Sonny Okosun was a guitarist in his band. Yes, you remember Sonny Okosun, the anti-apartheid crusader,
Fire in Soweto,
who passed on, unfortunately, some years ago. I'm sure we also will not forget King Pago. King Pago was was part of the art of Sir Victor Wyford. He was a multi-instrumentalist. I mean, he could play the guitar, he created the double neck guitar, could play the flute. His songs are ever great. I recall when we were young then, he had a citron. A citron, you know, the citron normally would warm up. It will rise. It will rise, you know, before it takes. So he used to hang out. Yes, he used to hang out at a place called Moonlight at the Besama, the Gun Street Junction. He was a sculptor. The plate number of that citron then ended with 1941, which was the year of his birth. And I recall we were all joking there that, look, if I do buy a car when I grow up, I'll put my year of birth.
Did you?
No, of course, I couldn't customize that. But Sir Victor Wyford, apart from what you've said, also comes from an illustrious Benin family, no question about that. His elder brother is a retired justice of the Supreme Court, Honorable Justice Samson Wyford.
There's also another death reported in Kaduna, Captain Abdul Karim Ibn Nala. He's been found dead in his home. It is said that the assailants broke to his house from the back and went into his home through the roof. He was found dead when a neighbor's gate man found his gate open, and they went in and found that he had been strangled with a rope. He is one of 3 brothers that are all pilots, and is the son of Senator Ibn Nala, who incidentally is also a pilot. In fact, he flies himself from Abuja to Birnin Kebbi. He says it's cheaper for him than driving to Birnin Kebbi.
Yeah, it's most unfortunate. I mean, what happened to the Nala family at the weekend. It's just one incident too many.
One incident
too many.
Having to get into somebody's house and get him strangled. That's really unfortunate. Oh, thank you so much, Bayo. It's a good day, and I hope it's going to remain good for us also. Thank you so much. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. We'll now take a break. We'll be back in a moment for the rest of the program. Stay with us.